How can you capture $68,000 on a $125,000 purchase price? Hey guys, it's Chris Prefontaine with another Deal Structure Sunday. I am joined by James Heartquist from the Boston area. James is a High Six associate. James, welcome to actually your first Deal Structure video. It's really cool.
Yeah, I'm excited to be here. Thanks for having me.
So first deal for James, and James, I was thinking about this morning before jumping on. I know at the QLS Live event in September, so 4 months ago, you jumped up to High Six. But prior to that, what was the month you joined? Just so that the viewers get a sense.
I think I came in at, I'm trying to remember. I think I came in at the 90-day jump start in like maybe October, November of 18.
Okay, October, November 18, just 90-day jumpstart, kind of like that weekly, for those that don't know, 90-day jumpstart, just a group weekly kind of, I'll call it a passive call. It's a weekly touch base. It's not an ongoing. And it ends in 90 days.
It wasn't enough for me. I just didn't know enough. So I jumped up to associate and
starter, right, first?
Yeah, sorry, starter associate. Yep.
Okay, cool.
And I was the starter associate for roughly 7 or 8 months before QLS, and then I jumped up.
Okay, so before you go into the deal, and I'm truly curious about, I was thinking about this morning. So did you, after QLS Live, did you do anything different that you can think of, intensity-wise, schedule-wise, commitment-wise, after you upgraded, or did you just kind of continue the trek?
No, there was a mindset shift that happened for me at QLS. I mean, I guess for me, I looked at the people who were doing the most deals, and it was High Six. And I just said to myself, there's a reason for that. And if I'm serious about this, that's where I need to be. And I kind of impulse bought High Six.
Actually, now that you say that, I remember, now this all came back. You said you're going to the event, you're not spending a dime, you're going to learn, and that was, and as you know, it's not a pitch fest, but there's opportunity there.
Yeah, not at all. And when I said that, it wasn't I'm not spending any money because it's not worth it. It was just I don't have any money, so I'm not spending any money.
Yeah.
And but it's just one of those things when it's right, it's right. And I could just feel that it was the right thing for me to do at that point. And it's funny, I called my girlfriend after and I told her, and I expected her to, we support each other. So I expected her to be okay with it, but she was just like, all right, cool. Like it was like just a passing for her. She's like, I completely trust you. If you think it's the right thing to do, then I'm sure it is.
I love it. I love it. All right. So with that as a backdrop for the viewers, I always think it's good for them to know who the heck they're listening to, right? It's just real stuff we're doing. Yeah. Okay. So let's talk about the deal. Let's go source first.
Yeah. So this source was a for sale by owner. He'd probably had it on the market for sale by owner for a week or two when I finally got in contact with him.
That's it? Okay.
Yeah, we played a little bit of phone tag. At one point, he had said, I've got somebody coming to look at the property. This was after I told him how we buy. He understood the process. At that conversation, it probably wasn't his first choice. So he showed
no one's first choice, right? This is a good point you brought up. So especially FSBOs, what do we always say? They're a FSBO because they think they can sell it, or they wouldn't be a FSBO.
Right.
So they're always going to try.
Motivation's always going to be different for a for sale by owner than it is for like an expired, canceled. It's a different approach entirely. Right. So this particular property he had for sale, I think he had it up for like $120,000. I went and looked.
Condo, right?
Yeah, 1 bedroom, 1 bath condo, like 900 square feet, right around that area.
Hold on, James. Sorry, I'm catching up and making notes as I go. Okay, so FSBO, did you say, and I might have missed it, was it a VA FSBO, a VA call for you, or you found it?
No, I found it.
Okay. And do you remember where you pulled it? Was it just like a Craigslist or?
My Plus
Leads.
I got
okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so for the viewers, My Plus Leads is, I don't know, 99% of the associates, if not 100, are using My Plus Leads as their lead source, whether they use it or their VA uses it. You can find that on our resource section. Just side note here. And then James, real important, this has been coming up. You heard it on the mastermind call with the associates last week. They all go, oh, I didn't know you're doing 1 bedroom and 2 bedrooms. And that all stemmed from years ago, our internal family team switched from 2 bedrooms to 3 just because we had enough leads. And then that culture kind of caught on. And then all of a sudden people thought, oh, we can't do 2 bedrooms and 1. But no, of course you can. You're in the Boston area. It makes sense. So go ahead. I think it's important for them to know that.
Yeah, of course. And I think too, when you're new, like a lot of people coming into this, probably, I'd say a majority don't have a real estate background. So you don't really know what to expect. So you just do what you're told. But as you get more experience, you're like, oh, I could buy anything like this. I could buy a bicycle on terms.
Correct.
It's just about
planes.
Once the comfort level's there, you're like, I'll call everybody and see who, like the chances of me finding a buyer for this particular condo were probably less likely than a 3-bedroom, 2-bathroom house, but I was willing to give it a try.
Yeah. Okay, cool. Let me see if I have any questions about the seller. Yeah. What was the seller's? He had a unique situation. What was his deal?
So he had, I think there's 37 units in this building, and he owned like 10 plus at one point, and he had sold all of them off. This was his last one. The tenants he had in there had been in there for like 12 years. Like they'd been long-term tenants, and then they ended up purchasing the property. So this was his last one. He was using this for his retirement. So his motivation was he just wanted to maximize. So when I went to look at the property, he was dead set on 36 months as being the longest he'd be willing to go. There wasn't anything that was getting him off 36 months. I just explained to him that if I get the term that I want, I can, in some cases, overpay, for the property based on, what he's getting or what it's worth. And I sent him a few options, a 36, a 48, and a 60. And he ended up settling on the 48 month. And I paid, the final purchase price for the property was $125,122. So 125, 122. A
well thought out metric.
Carefully calculated.
Well, let's talk about that because our community knows it. But so, okay, 2 things. One, and you can comment on this. One is James said we can overpay. Why is he saying that? Because with free and clear properties, guys, we pay principal only. So we'll talk about his numbers in a minute. But with principal only, do some math on any size house. In 3 to 6 months, if you overpay, you get that back as long as your term's long enough. So we're going to go over James' numbers in a minute, but that's why. And then secondly, the 125, 122, why? Well, if James went to him and said, okay, I can pay 125, it's almost like an arbitrary, he's leaving that open round number to negotiate. But if he goes back to the seller, and you can tell me if I'm wrong, James, how you did it, and says 125, 122, I ran my metrics like this is it, this is max. It's a well thought out metric. It's not, but that's the perception. Am I right?
100%.
Okay. All right, go ahead.
So we moved forward with that. He wanted to do the 48 month. His motivation for accepting that was he never told me what his next highest offer was, but I'm going to guess it was probably anywhere from $7,000 to $10,000 more than what the next person was offering. So it created a scenario for him where, he now gains, upwards of an extra $10,000 in his retirement, which was a good feeling for me to be able to provide that, but also a good situation for him as far as being comfortable moving forward with this.
Yep. Okay, so I'm trying to think what logically happened. Well, you go ahead. You went back and forth with this guy. I remember talking to you about time frames. Like was he going to Israel or something?
Yeah, he's traveling to Israel on the 27th. Obviously we like to have contingencies in these on finding a third-party buyer just to protect us. But when I added that in there, he wasn't willing to wait for me to market the property to potentially have me give it back. So I had a decision to make at that point. Do I want to take this property at some point in the future, regardless of whether or not I have it sold, or do I want to just say, hey, you know what, this isn't for me? And ultimately I decided that I was willing to give it a try. It's one of those things where at some point you just got to take a risk, and it wasn't a huge risk. And, I was confident in my ability to sell the property. And at the very least, the pivot, let's say I couldn't sell, worst case scenario, I could just put a renter in there and
tomorrow.
and easily cover all the expenses, plus have a pretty nice spread. So the numbers worked for, which allowed for a pivot if need be.
Yeah, so let me comment on that. Good points. When you hear James' numbers, you'll see why he's saying it wouldn't keep him up at night, even though it's his first deal. But here's the play, guys. So James was talking to this guy, and we were talking back in November-ish, because they're going to see this a little later, James. And this guy said, I'm leaving at the end of January. And so we did the math on ahead. We go, okay, we have November, December, and January to market this thing. It's 90 days. We got to really screw up not to find someone in 90 days. So we said, okay, let's do it. But then on top of that, when you close in on a financing in a sandwich, if you're doing that in at the end of January, so say February 1, your first payment's not due till March. So James now has all that run-up time, except for he would have got caught 1 month worth of HOA and taxes. And taxes wouldn't even be due, so just HOA.
Right. I mean, at some point I would have had to pay taxes, but right, it wouldn't have come out of pocket at that moment.
Not that quick.
So it was worth giving it a try. Very worst case scenario, I end up with a cash flowing rental property and
paying principal down.
Exactly right. We're with somebody else paying the principal down. So
okay, so before we do your 3 paydays, this is important too. Then, so I'm just trying to think of the listener going, okay, great. So he rents it. Then where's the exit? Real simple. He got 4-year terms, so he could rent it for a year, and 6 months into that rental, start remarketing for rent to own. He has 6 months, and he has 3 years left to cash out the rent to own. He's still more than fine. That's the play.
Yeah, and my thought process too, like when I'm calculating this stuff, I'm always thinking like worst case scenario. So I said, okay, what's the worst case scenario at the end of this? If I had to take out financing, to buy this property, like would it
in 4 years?
No, it wouldn't, because at the time of financing, I'd owe $100,000 on it on a property that I could rent for $1,400. So the numbers still work even if I had to get financing. Worst case scenario,
right.
My worst case scenario still has me cash flowing $400 or $500 a month. So that's not a bad thing.
Yeah, I don't get that seriously on our properties. We've got 60 properties. There are many properties that I have in there that are 200, 300, 400 that don't get a 500 month spread.
Yeah.
So, all right, cool. So let's do the sell, and then we'll do the 3 paydays and wrap it up.
So I marketed the property at a sales price of $149.9 with like a $500 credit towards repairs. Like the property needed new rugs, and so the final sale price ended up being $149.4.
Okay, I just thought of something. I'm trying to keep my thoughts clear enough because I know the deal, but I just thought of something. At some point, you did a home inspection, and there was nothing earth shattering, but you used that to go back, which you'll talk about in a minute, to get the monthly down. And then, but punchline is I'm bringing it up because you passed it all on to the buyer with a simple credit idea of $500. I mean,
yeah, that's exactly what I did.
Okay, go ahead.
Do you want to get to that now, or do you want to?
Okay, so you marked up to $149.9. So let's go to let's go through the paydays now. 1, 2, 3, so they follow it.
Yeah, so the buyer for this particular property kind of came out of left field. As you know, Chris, I was in my office on a Sunday, which I never work on Sundays, and I just happened to be here going through some things. And I had a couple call me. They happened to be looking for a unit for an employee of theirs who needed a spot, and they liked the idea of being able to pay this off over time. Small business owners, didn't necessarily want to go get financing today. They can cover the unit easily with their income. They're very prosperous and well-to-do. So I went up the same day and showed them the property. The buyer, she was like, I'm ready to go. We've got $25,000 put down, like, sign us up. And I was like, wait, what? So it was
first deal. It is a shocker, right?
Yeah, because most people don't just come in and willingly put that much down, right? They're looking
not up front.
Right, they're looking to do the least amount possible. So that told me that they were very serious, and it took about a week and a half, 2 weeks to get them, from point A to point B, which is the closing, which we'll get to. So the payday one, I only collected what the difference was between the sale price and what I paid for the property. So it ended up being $24,278. So that was payday one.
Plus, your payments not due to the first month, so you picked up first month too, right?
Correct.
Which was how much?
It ended up, so it would be the rent spread of 500 plus 375, so 875 total.
875 on top of the 24,278.
Yeah, and that's not including the HOA and taxes, which I will have to pay. So that's just strictly profit.
Yeah, so let's just say 25 grand. I get 25 and change, but whatever,
Yeah.
round number. Okay, go ahead.
Getting back to what you mentioned about the monthly payment. So originally in the 48-month deal, we had agreed on $425 a month. So after the inspection, there was a few things, nothing overwhelming, but a plumbing issue in the kitchen I didn't want to have to fix. I just went back to him and said, hey, listen, there's some things that came up. Somebody has to fix them. It's either going to be you or it's going to be me. So if you want to do it, that's fine, or I'll do it, and we can do this. And he thought I was trying to beat him up on price at that point, and I said, I'm not looking to do that. I'm not looking to take anything away from your retirement. Here's what I'd like to do. Why don't we just slide the monthly back? What I'll do is I'll have my tenant buyer, fix these things. I'll push it back on them, and you're just going to get a bigger balloon at the end. And I was on speakerphone with him and his wife. They liked that idea because it wasn't actually going to cost them any money overall.
So you went down how much in the monthly? I didn't remember.
$50 a month. I got $50 a month less.
Okay, $300 a year, $600 a year. Nothing wrong with that.
Yeah. Obviously the whether I pay it it's either a monthly or it comes down off the principal. But if I can create a bigger monthly spread now, I'd rather.
Yeah, especially first deal.
Right.
So payday two is how much over 48 months?
Yeah, so payday two, it's I created a spread of 500 monthly. It'll be $24,000 over 48 months.
Sweet. Okay, and then payday. Well, just to mention, so you pass the taxes in the HOA onto the buyer. Just want to remind the viewers, and then payday three, sales markup plus principal pay down minus the deposit you already got is how much?
Yeah, so in this case, we got everything up front on payday one, so there was nothing, you know what I mean? So
yeah,
at this point, it was just principal pay down. So the payday three would just be principal pay down of $375 over 48 months, which is $18,000.
All right, pretty cool to follow for the viewers too, though, because you took your markup and price. Oh, thank you. Take that up front, and then the back end is just the principal pay down. Simple.
Right.
Okay, so what does that come to? I'm getting like 67 and change-ish?
Yeah.
Okay, so I just want to make sure I said the right thing for the opening for these guys. All right, good deal. So 68 grand on a 125 purchase. And I was talking to one of the other High Six members, James, right before this filming with you and I, and he said he's focusing a lot on free and clear. And I said, here's the formula. I say it all the time, but for the viewers to hear, here's just a guideline for you. If you're going after a houses at 200,000 price per purchase or higher, we did it at 183, but I'm just using a round number. In your monthly principal payments, at least 900 and up, 4-year terms, you get a 6-figure deal.
Yeah, and a lot of times you're in the high like hundreds. So you're looking at like 180, 190, $200,000 deal. I just sent out a proposal on a property that's $960,000 that if it pops at 48 months will be a $287,000 deal. So we'll be doing that deal structure soon.
Yeah, you know what's really cool about that? Thank you for bringing that up. Mike in California, another High Six associate, did one. It's a 200 grand deal.
Yep.
And what's really cool is last week on the mastermind call, and for the viewers to know if you're new, we do one every week with the associates and the 90 jump starters every week. And the discussion is it's a totally different mindset. And that's all it is a mindset. Everyone's getting longer terms now, 5 years, 10 years. Nate, brand new, 2 10-year deals. I mean, that didn't exist 2 years ago. Why? Because we're all just talking it now. It's a different perception, a different mindset. So it's really cool. James, congrats. It's going to be really cool to see, for the viewer to kind of picture this. You put together, this is a small deal, but let's just say you put together 6 of these.
Yeah.
You start looking at timeframes of we never go below 3 now, but let's just say 3 and then 4 and then 5 and 6 years. You put this on a spreadsheet, you put 6 or 12 of these together, you got a cool thing going on. I did a video yesterday that said, okay, so you can do that and then you can sit back, or you can keep feeding that and then get to a scalable business like most of us are doing. So pretty cool. Congrats.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, once you start stringing them together, it becomes just a massive train of, you know, wealth building and you know, money coming in. It's great.
Not a bad deal. Why should these guys, you've been to 2 or 3 events. Why should these guys come to the business scaling event in April? And I'm not going to say, or the QLS event live in September, just your thoughts.
Yeah. I mean, if you're serious about progressing forward in this, you have to surround yourself with people who are doing the things you want. And I mean, I got lucky. Like I didn't have the horror stories of going to a bunch of different programs and paying out a ton of money. Like I got lucky with you guys the first time around, but there's not a room that is more energetic, more caring, and more just geared towards getting people going in the right direction and doing these deals and making cash. And it's competitive, but in a loving way. And it's, you know, even though we all are trying to do the most deals, it's not in spite of other people. It's to keep everybody motivated. And it's you'd be crazy not to go.
Love it. Love it. Straight from the old heart. Thanks, James. I appreciate it. I can't wait to do more deals with you. And it's probably going to be next week. So great job. Congrats.
We have 3 or 4 more coming soon.
No pressure. Thanks, buddy.
All right.